All right, today we're going to take a look at what Trump is doing in terms of restoring security, law and order, and safety in our country. I, for one, I don't completely agree with everything Trump does, but this one particular issue, I'm 100% behind his efforts. Okay. We have lived for a while now with chaos, people just beating away with murder, committing crime. I mean, there's a stat that showed that at some point it was 27% of murder rate in the country's capital, in Washington, D.C. That's literally death daily. We don't even want to go into the issues which outside Chicago. Literally, as this major city, you can't live, people's lives are getting threatened. That's insane for a country this big. So let's see what he's doing. He signed a few executive orders. I'll dive right into it. Right off the bat, we're on X here. Right, he declared the soft on crime era is over. Today, he signed three executive orders, one of which
a key driver of the disorder we see on city streets all over America. Catch and release system allows criminals to keep going back out onto the street and reoffending. What this executive order does, it charges your attorney general with identifying jurisdictions all over the country that have cashless bail policies, and then it withholds or revokes federal funds and grants that are flowing to those jurisdictions to ensure that we're only supporting the people who have reasonable common sense policies around crime.
So what area does it cover?
Potentially anywhere that has a cashless bail policy. So some of the largest cities, some of the most left-wing states that are not down to them, right? Illinois would be a great example.
Yeah,
sir.
Oh, they have a great cashless bail. You don't even have to go to court sometimes. Yeah, Illinois, I love that state. It's a great state, but it's run so badly by Prescott. They throw him out of the family business and he becomes governor. Now he wants to run for president. I don't think that's going to happen. Okay, we'll start right here, right?
Sir.
So important. And this is a Republican Democrat. And by the way, most Democrats agree with this. But this is just, we got to bring our country back.
All right, so he right off the bat, so he starts right off by getting rid of cashless bail. And if you don't know what cashless bail is, basically it refers to pre-trial release policies where a judge, but not money, determines if a defendant is a flight risk or a danger to public safety. And then that judge can go ahead and release without the traditional cash bond. People who are pro cashless bail argue it prevents them from dictating freedom and reduces racial disparity. While opponents claim it's a time-honored system that ensures court appearances and prevents violent criminals from being released. This is good. It means that if you commit heinous crime, you get to stay behind bars because that's the right thing. There should be consequences for crime. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. I'm not doing this thing properly. All right. I'm streaming the video. Very strange.
It charges, for example, your Secretary of Defense with establishing specialized units in both the D.C. National Guard and the National Guard units around the country, specifically trained and equipped to deal with public order issues. It charges all of your various federal law enforcement agencies with hiring additional personnel to allow them to surge personnel to Washington, D.C. to deal with the current emergency here. It does a number of other things in that space, and it also asks the Attorney General to look at D.C. Metropolitan Police general orders that have currently impeded law enforcement efforts in the city, and to potentially look at unwinding those that are stopping the police from doing their job effectively.
And are we going to ask this to be codified by Congress, all of these things?
I think we could potentially, yes, sir.
I think we should.
This is interesting. So when Trump unleashed the federal military on DC to curb crime to a point where it was so successful that they completely got rid of crime in 2 weeks or in under a week. And, liberals and Democrats, they went into full meltdown. They're rioting and protesting, accusing Trump of being racist. That's usual. But which is crazy. I've never seen any people who argue and protest to maintain the status quo. They hate it. They're getting mugged. People are getting killed. And then this president finally does something about it, and they're outraged. So what does he do? He doubles down. Now he's signed an executive order, so even giving the feds even more power to fight crime, figure out why the DC Police Department is not able to fight crime. And they're even going to pursue codifying it into law. and Congress. This is interesting. If it goes nationwide, we can be leading in a country where it can finally be safe. Criminals can get punished. I used to work in corrections as a corrections nurse, and it always blew my mind the lifestyle of these prisoners, especially in a state like California. These prisoners, they get away with everything. It's like there's an incentive to commit crime. Because they come into prison, they're fed, they're given health care, they're given food daily. It's like there's no reason to go out on the streets, because when they go out on the streets, they have to fend for themselves. So they're all wanting to stay in prison. And then when they're in prison, they're acting like gang lords. They're just running the whole thing. They get away with whatever they want. It's wild. This president is going to put an end to that. Now, when they're out of them, when you think about crime, you think twice, because the consequences are going to be dire. That's how it should be.
On flag burning, it charges your attorney general.
Would you listen to this? This is flag burning. All over the country, they're burning flags. All over the world, they burn the American flag. And as you know, through a very sad court, I guess it was a 5-4 decision. They called it freedom of speech. But there's another reason, which is perhaps much more important. It's called death. Because what happens when you burn a flag is the area goes crazy. If you have hundreds of people, they go crazy. You can do other things. You can burn this piece of paper. But when you burn the American flag, it incites riots at levels that we've never seen before. People go crazy. In a way, both ways. There are some that are going crazy for doing it. There are others that are angry about them doing. Do you want to discuss that?
Sure. So what the executive order does, sir, it charges your Department of Justice with investigating instances of flag burning, and then where there's evidence of criminal activity, where prosecution wouldn't fall afoul of the First Amendment, and instructs the Department of Justice to prosecute those who are engaged in these instances of flag burning.
And what the penalty is going to be, if you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail. No early exits, no nothing. You get 1 year in jail. If you burn a flag, you get, and what it does is incite to riot. I hope they use that language, by the way. Did they? Incite to riot. And you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail. You don't get 10 years, you don't get 1 month. You get 1 year in jail, and it goes on your record. And you will see flag burning stopping immediately, just like when I signed the Statute and Monument Act. 10 years in jail if you hurt any of our beautiful monuments. Everybody left town. They were gone. Never had a problem after that. It's pretty amazing we stopped it. But this is something that's, I don't know, in a certain way, it's equally as important. Some people would say it's more important because the people in this country don't want to see our American flag burned and spit on. And by people that are, in many cases, paid agitators. Yeah, they're paid by the radical left to do it. You talk to these people, they don't even.
All right. So, this right here, it needed to happen. I just don't understand. I never really understood how you can call yourself a patriot or you're fighting for the country to be better when you're burning a symbol like the American flag. It's like the logo or the country's brand. You're burning it. It's symbolic. And it sets people to go into frenzy because it's the total disrespect. And I think there should be consequences for it. You shouldn't burn the American flag. And here, he signed an executive order for you get locked up for a whole year. That's good. You're gonna notice no one's gonna burn flags in it, as it should.
Well, I know it was something the president said where you say there have been murders in a couple of weeks in D.C., and it doesn't sound good, but then you talk to local law enforcement, and I didn't realize that this town averaged one murder every other day for the last 20, 30 years, which means that in 2 short weeks, the president and the team have saved 6 or 7 lives, people who would have been killed on the streets of D.C., who are now living, breathing, spending time with their families because the president had the willpower to say, no more. We're not going to give the streets of D.C. over to vagrants and robbers and murderers. And the last point I want to make, sir, to your point about we want people to welcome us, to ask us, because look at Governor Pritzker in Illinois or Governor Newsom in Los Angeles or Governor Moore in Maryland. They are angrier about the fact that the president of the United States is offering to help them get their crime under control than they are about the fact that murderers are running roughshod.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Just to, first of all, follow up on what the vice president said.
And like the president said, I don't see regular law-abiding citizens committing these types of crimes. I think they're getting paid. It's not difficult to call it.
No police officer working in the city can remember a time in their lives when there has been no murders. You can work with the police department for 20 years, 30 years, your whole life. We've checked the records. No one can even find a record of being murder-free for as long as we've been murder-free under President Trump's leadership. Additionally, and the president spoke about this before, we've uncovered, in the process of uncovering, a massive scandal in Washington, D.C. with the doctoring of crime stats. And the Department of Justice, under the Attorney General, is leading the effort to uncover this. But when we ultimately share the results, it will stun you. The extent to which, even though D.C. had the worst crime in America, honestly measured, it dramatically understated how bad it was. There's even accusations.
You know, that highlights another crazy thing. The fact that these police departments, they can drop to the numbers of the crime rate. So even though on the streets it's chaos and mayhem, on paper it's telling a different story. They're reporting that their city is safe and they're getting de-elected. Meanwhile, people are dying on the streets. This needed to happen. I can't wait for this to be a treating act throughout the country. We have to be able to live and feel safe. Our children should be able to walk down the streets at night without any cause for alarm. When you go to other countries, other civilized countries, whether it's Saudi Arabia, Japan, the UAE, China, it doesn't matter where you are, crime, you don't be able to get away with crime. Period. It's a civilized society. When we allow criminals to get away with crime, it affects everyone. It affects productivity, affects health. People just generally are anxious because in Atlanta, I said every day there's a gun crime. People have to drive around and walk around with a gun on them. Says you just don't know who's going to attack you. That's no way to live. We pay so much taxes. The minimum we need is safety. Max is out there. That's a different story. But safety and security is the least our government can provide to us. And I'm all for this. I commend Trump for making this effort and signing this law during the executive order. And I look forward to, a nationwide action. Once we're